It's Thursday, January 30th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. We begin with assurances that a solution is being sought as concerns mount about Barbadian students in the Chinese city of Wuhan, where the deadly coronavirus originated. It's coming from Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Sandra Husbands, who is also urging Barbadians to have faith, as it was not a simple process. She explains that there are many variables to consider, and her ministry is currently preparing for contingencies.
With the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China to discuss the possibility of being able to get the students out. And so that process is an ongoing process. But Barbados is taking every care and ensuring that we are instructing our students how to maintain their safety until such time as we can get them to a different place away from Yunnan. It is obvious that parents are going to be anxious. They want, like anything, for a magic wand to be waved and to have those children home in a safe position. And we are working with them through the process to see what is the best that we can do in order to safeguard them and safeguard their health.
The minister further explained that among the critical considerations was transportation in and out of the impacted area.
One of the issues would be transport. How do they get out? If there are no planes, if there are no trains, how are you going to get them from there? Then the other thing would be, how are they going to be able to get food and supplies while they're trying to stay indoors away from any possible infections? When they leave, will they have to be quarantined? Where would something like that have to take place before they are allowed to travel, say, on somebody's plane? So there are a lot of issues, so it's not as straightforward as bring them home. So they're working through all of those issues, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will keep the country updated. They will keep the parents updated to ensure that they know at all times what is happening, and at the same time trying to keep the students calm, because you can appreciate away from home, your parents are not there, you're in a situation that's a little above your head, they will be anxious too. So they're also working with them to keep them calm and to guide them and to assure them that we are there, willing, ready, and able to help.
Meantime, Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, Cleviston Haynes, says the institution is keeping a close eye on developments surrounding the virus, and he warns that the spread of the deadly disease could have a major impact on the island's bread and butter tourism industry. He's hoping, however, the situation is contained quickly as fares mount and countries begin to cut flights to China.
Because we are a small open economy, we are exposed to several risks, not least of which are health pandemics such as the coronavirus. And therefore, it's something that we have to monitor. At this stage, it's difficult for us to gauge what the full impact. From our perspective, clearly we would hope that it can be contained, because there is that risk that if it spread, that it could hurt, I would say, global tourism. I think only last night I was seeing that some airlines are no longer going to travel to China. So that's part of the global tourism that is being impacted. But clearly if it spreads its net widely, then all markets or several markets could be impacted, not least our own.
Haynes was responding to questions on Wednesday during his first economic review of the economy for the year. He revealed that in the coming weeks, two key pieces of legislation governing aspects of the financial services sector are expected to go before Parliament for approval. The central bank governor disclosed that draft legislation for the establishment of a credit bureau was already before the Parliamentary Council, while a new law governing the central bank was being prepared.
The legislation will address issues pertaining to how we interact with government generally. I think that's what we're trying to refine, to make sure that the bank is not sort of held captive to an administration, I think that that's where the autonomy will come. We have to be able to function. The central bank doesn't exist in a vacuum, so we have to be able to function within the society, but we need to be able to provide our advice from time to time to government. The legislation will, I think, address how we hire and dismiss our governors, how we provide financing to the government in situations where there is a shortfall in their financing.
There is a call for authorities to enforce the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. It's coming from members of the Action for Animals Barbados and the Respect Our Animals Rights, who yesterday met at Browns Beach before heading over to the Prime Minister's office to hand over a petition on the issue.
Due to a number of calls, social media posts and the tireless work of animal rescuers who deal with the end result of animal abuse, and based on their feedback, it is fair to say that when animal abuse is reported, at the moment it will go so far and then for varying reasons no further. I then asked the question, what is the purpose of having a Barbados Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act? We can and we must do better. And if there are challenges around reporting and following up on abuse calls, then these issues need to be resolved and long-term sustainable solutions found by the relevant stakeholders. This is why today AFAB and Royal Barbados are submitting the petition to the Government of Barbados as part of many steps that will ensure that our animal laws are fully adhered to and solutions found to any issues around them.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
On the regional scene, we head to Bermuda, where a man was yesterday sentenced to 1 year in prison and placed on 2 years probation for threatening the life of Premier David Burt and that of his family. More in this report from Bermuda Broadcasting.
Justice Charles Etta Simmons handed down a sentence of 1 year today in the Supreme Court to 30-year-old father Jared Gordon. His sentence of 12 months includes the 18 months he has already spent in custody taken into consideration. He would have been eligible for release today. However, Justice Simmons said in any event he does not have a place to go. Crown Counsel Karen King had called for a period of imprisonment between 2 and 4 years after a psychological report determined Gordon was aware of his crime and did not suffer from any psychotic or personality disorder. She explained that a psychologist says Gordon does not have an Axis 1 mental health diagnosis such as anxiety disorder or mood disorder. She added, quote, his testing was average. Defense counsel Simone Smith-Bean says her client's symptoms were consistent with autism, suggesting he would benefit from counseling with a psychologist as opposed to imprisonment. The court heard Gordon is currently homeless after he was kicked out of his adopted parents' home. A probation officer confirmed with the court that they did not wish for Gordon to stay with them as, quote, they have concerns about his behavior towards them. He is currently on remand for magistrate's court matter alleging he threatened his father. Addressing the court, Gordon said, quote, I did get carried away, but I apologize to the Premier. I don't condone what I said. Progressive Labour Party leader and Premier David Burt received threatening emails from an account belonging to Gordon in October of 2017. It read, quote, ignoring me, asking for a budget is driving me to a point of wanting to tell you this to your face. I would really put a hole in your head. A month later, Premier Burt was in the UK hosting a networking reception when he received a second threatening email which prosecutors said caused him further concern. That following March, a third email was received. This time, Gordon sent death threats to Mr. Burt's wife and 2 children and then threatened to chop off his head. Gordon was arrested in May of 2018 at the Elif Wade International Airport, and he admitted to the offences in April of last year.
And finally, the Director General of the World Health Organization announced that the Emergency Committee on the Coronavirus under the International Health Regulations will meet on Thursday amid rising cases of the deadly virus. The decision came on the heels of reports by Chinese health authorities that there were 7,711 confirmed cases of the infection and 162 deaths as of Wednesday. Infections have also been reported in at least 15 other countries.
The continued increase in cases and the evidence of human-to-human transmission outside China are, of course, both deeply concerning, although the numbers outside China are still relatively small. They hold the potential for a much larger outbreak. I have, therefore, decided to reconvene the International Health Regulations Emergency Committee on Novel Coronavirus 2019 to advise me on whether the outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern and to seek their recommendations on how best to protect people all over the world.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.